Hello, I'm talking to you about a book called The Case for Working with Your Hands, or Why Office Work is Bad for Us and Fixing Things Feels Good. I'll start by telling you a bit about the author, Matthew Crawford. He's a philosopher, he has a PhD in philosophy, but he's also rather unusually a motorcycle mechanic, hence the bike on the front. Matt wrote this book in response to some observations of his and experiences that he had. For example, he noticed that while he was fixing cars, that when you open up the bonnet on a Mercedes these days, you'll find that there's no dipstick anymore. You're not actually able to check the oil in your own car. Why is that, he thought. He also noticed how generally people are quite alienated from the technology around them, even though we're increasingly dependent upon it as the years go by. And he related this generally to what he calls a lack of manual competence. The book in America is called Shop Class as Soulcraft. What he means by that is he's referring to shop class, which is workshop, which is we would call design technology. And he noticed that that was being phased out of the school curriculum. As the young people are leaving school, they no longer have the ability to work with their hands, to fix things. And this is generating a sort of dislocation and alienation from technology in our lives. So that was one of the things that he noticed. He also noticed, though, that having himself worked in an office and worked in a think tank, that when he actually got into the bike shop and started fixing bikes, he found that he was thinking more and enjoying thinking more than he was when he was sat at a desk. So he put these two ideas together, and in this book, which is a work of philosophy as well as a work of memoir, he tried to explain for himself and the reader why it is that manual work, particularly skilled manual work, he's not really talking about the unskilled manual work of the factory line, he's talking about things like plumbers, technicians, builders, electricians, why it is that those kinds of jobs are not as dirty and dumb as people perceive them to be, but actually cognitively very challenging and rewarding. And in this book, I think he gives one of the most inspiring accounts of the satisfactions that can be derived from that kind of work. He also gives a fairly stern indictment of office work, and I think that's probably why the book appeals to so many people. A lot of us spend our days in front of a computer and perhaps wonder at the end of the day what we've really achieved apart from sending a few emails. When you fix a bike or when you fix a light, you can look at the bike at the end of it, and if you switch it on and it works, you know that your job is done. And that's the sort of sensation that a lot of us don't have day to day in our office lives. And I think that sort of experience that's lacking is what's made the book so appealing, partly because economically we're facing a time when a lot of people are reassessing their work lives and wondering what they're going to do now that they may have lost their job, or if they've been working in the financial sector where the reality of number crunching is not as rewarding or even as possible as it used to be. This is partly why the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition have picked up on this book, particularly the Universities and Science Minister David Willetts, as well as Michael Gove, as well as Sir Kenneth Baker of the Edge Foundation, as well as the Crafts Council of the UK and the National Apprenticeship Service. All of them have read this book and responded to it with incredible enthusiasm, and I think in the coming weeks we'll see lots more about this book in the press. And hopefully those of you who buy it will get some pleasure and enjoyment from it as well. On one last note, we have something special. A lot of people have commented on what a beautiful cover design is. I have to say I think it's very handsome indeed. This was actually commissioned originally as a carving from a piece of wood which I have. This is the carving itself. As you can see, we've rather shrunk it down and glammed it up with Photoshop, but the results, I think, are spectacular.